This is a video that I didn't really want to have to make. I don't think I should have to make it, but I'm going to because I want to let people know how I'm feeling about the whole thing. And so if you can't tell from the title of this video, this is about George Floyd and his death in Minneapolis. So if that triggers you, I'm sorry. I would suggest clicking off now. But I just wanted to let everyone know how I was feeling about everything. Because I can't say nothing. You know, this has gone on way too long, and it goes way too far a lot of the time. And it's just, even though it's not me personally, I still feel, strongly connected to it because I live in Minneapolis. Being someone from Minneapolis is, you feel, or I guess I shouldn't say that I feel how these people are feeling, but I can understand the way that they are feeling in this situation because it's not right, and I know it's not right, and it is disgusting. I saw that video, and it's just, I heard about it. I woke up to it yesterday, and I couldn't believe it. It's one of my worst pet peeves is when people abuse their power. They're in a situation of power and they abuse it. And that's what these cops did. And it's disgusting. It's really, really disgusting. And I'm glad that people are finally standing up for themselves. I'm glad that all these protests are happening, that, they're saying something that it's not right, and they want people to see. So like I said, I'm from Minneapolis. I live right outside of Minneapolis. And I was watching the live news coverage yesterday of the riots, and I was kind of shocked, but I wasn't surprised because I've lived in Minneapolis my whole life. I've worked in Minneapolis. I have friends who live in Minneapolis. I spend a lot of my time down there, and I know that these people are angry and tired of being taken advantage of, as they should be, because it isn't right. Like, people think that once the Civil War ended and once the Civil Rights Movement in the 1960s happened, that like people are just not racist and they got over it in America, but it's still very, very real, and and I think Minneapolis is one of the worst places for that. It happens a lot here. It happens too much. It shouldn't happen at all. Today I got a little closer to it than I would have liked. I had a doctor's appointment today in St. Paul, which is the neighboring city. It's the twin cities are Minneapolis and St. Paul, and I had a doctor's appointment in St. Paul, a block away from university, and I had a doctor's appointment at 1, and it was 1:30, and a police officer came to the door and knocked on the door of the room that I was in with my doctor and said, "You guys gotta go. Everyone needs to be out of here by 2, because the riots were getting too close." And then I had to drive home. I had to have someone escort me to my car, and then I had to drive home. Luckily, I didn't have to drive through the riot, and I live far enough away from the riots to kind of be safe in my own home, but not everybody has that privilege. So my heart goes out to everybody who lives in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and everybody who... I've never had a run-in with police officers fortunately, I'm fortunate enough to never have that happen. But again, there are people that aren't that lucky, and my heart goes out to those people who are scared every time they see a cop or every time they get pulled over because they have a broken headlight or something and things escalate. It breaks my heart, to be honest. It really, really does. It's devastating, and I keep saying this a lot, but the only word that comes into my head about it is just, it's disgusting. Everything about it is disgusting, and I'm so glad that those police officers got fired right away, because they deserved it. That's like the worst thing you can do to a person, they did. Yeah, it was just, it's awful. The whole situation is awful, and it wasn't even like they were using necessary force that went too far. They accidentally went overboard with it. I don't believe that this was an accident. It was completely and utterly on purpose and for no reason. He was handcuffed, pinned down by 3 officers while one kneeled on his esophagus, crushing his throat, and he suffocated and died. He was handcuffed. He was complying with the police. All he kept saying was that he couldn't breathe, and he just kept asking if he could have a drink of water. And they kneeled on his throat and let him die in front of everybody. People on the sidelines were filming and pleading with the officers to please let him up and that it's not right. And it wasn't. It really wasn't. I can't wrap my head around everything that's happened. And I guess depending on which way you look at it, it's kind of fortunate. But I understand that I have privilege, and I understand that I need to use that privilege, which is why I think I'm making this video. Because I want to show that I'm one person, but allies are a huge help. Minorities can't do it alone. They can't. The Black Lives Matter movement isn't a lot if they don't have allies to back them up, because then it's still them against the world. And I am a full ally, and I support everybody, and I support the protests. I support the protests. I support how they're feeling. I know that they're angry, because I'm angry too, and I just want to let anybody out there who's scared and feels alone and feels violated and sad that this situation is happening, I want to let them know that I hear you, I see you, and I'm here for you, and I love you, and I just want everyone to be safe and to be kind to each other. It's not right. It really, really isn't right. And I don't know how much further these things have to go before change starts happening. And I do want to say that, I realize that not all police officers are bad. A lot of them are really good and really good at their jobs and good at making sure that they let people know that they're cared about and that they're safe with them. There are some police officers who are good at that, but then there are others who are really not, and they're in it for the wrong reasons, I think. So I really hope that things in law enforcement really start to change soon. Because it's not just in Minneapolis, it's not just in Minneapolis, it's all over the country, and it's all over the country, and it's just, I can't even put into words these riots are showing that just how angry people are. They're so angry. They're like me. They can't put it into words, so they're resorting to riot behavior. And while I don't necessarily condone like violence and riot behavior, they started out as peaceful protests, and I totally get it. I'm totally there for it. But I think the protests have escalated because they're not feeling heard. Because all that happens is they just get tear gassed and arrested, and then nothing changes. So they're not feeling heard, and that's why things are escalating so much. So I just really hope that now that they have escalated, that the people in power realize that this is a big problem that they need to fix. So I'm sorry if this video was just me kind of like rambling. I guess I don't really know how to put into words all the things that I'm feeling right now. So sorry if it's just like all over the place and rambling. I see you, those of you that are scared and who are right in the middle of everything. I see you, and I hear you, and I'm here for you, and I love you. His name was George Floyd.